Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Roslyn Hill Chapel, a spiritual home for open minds. I'm Andrew Appleyard, a chapel member and your worship assistant for this Unitarian service. Whoever you are and however you are this morning, there is a space for you here. We're delighted to welcome Helen Mason to lead today's service. Helen is the Director of the Unitarian College. A born Unitarian, Helen's grandfather was a minister. Her career has been as an educator, mostly in mainstream further education, before she took on the challenge 3 years ago of heading up the new college. She enjoys travelling around the UK, meeting Unitarians and talking about the work of the college. She lives in Southampton and has a teenage daughter. We have a children's chapel and creche today for children aged 2 and above. Babies under 2 are welcome in the creche but need to be accompanied by an adult. With the government restrictions now totally lifted, precautions such as hand sanitizer, distancing and masks are now a matter of personal choice. Please do join us for refreshments at the end of the service in the side aisle. If you're watching at home, you can join us for tea and conversation in the virtual side aisle at midday. The Zoom link was sent out in our weekly update email and is in the Connect link in your YouTube description. This afternoon at 2 p.m, we have a cello concert with a performance of original compositions by cello man Ivan Hussey here. Entry is free, and I think from the taster, you'll definitely not want to miss it. This evening at 7 p.m, Eleanor Shari will lead you through 3 guided meditations. Before that, at 6 p.m, there is 30 minutes of mindfulness. You can find information about these and all our activities on our website. If you prefer a paper copy, you can pick up our Open Mind newsletter. The June edition is now available on the steward's table. Our good cause for June is Banquet. It believes that no one should be going hungry in the UK. We agree. Banquet makes it easier to give to food banks. Our donations will help our local Chalk Farm food bank, which we've supported for many years. They can request from Banquet exactly the supplies they need, and Banquet delivers them. We divide our collection this month between the upkeep of this beautiful chapel and our good cause. You can donate after the service at the back of the chapel by cash or card. If you're donating online, please donate directly to Banquet and the chapel separately. And thank you for contributing to our spiritual community. We light the chalice, the symbol of our liberal faith. With these words, we Unitarians don't drink from our chalice. Instead, we use it to hold the flame. The circle of the chalice keeps the fire small. The flame doesn't blind us. It doesn't burn us. It gives us light so we can see all the different things in the universe, even the invisible ones. Because the Unitarian flame is the light of learning. The flaming chalice is a symbol of learning and love. It is our symbol, the symbol of Unitarians.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Welcome, friends. Let's make a start by singing together, shall we? So please stand as you're able, and we'll sing number 172 in your green book, All Are Welcome Here. It's wonderful to be with you all here in Roslyn Hill Chapel today. Thanks so much for inviting me. My name is Helen Mason, and I'm the Director of Unitarian College. I'm also a lifelong Unitarian. My family's Unitarian connections go back 6 generations, but that doesn't make me any more of a Unitarian than someone who has just stepped through the doors or into our Zoom room for the first time this morning. And if that's you, you're really welcome. My great joy is getting out and about into the denomination and meeting other Unitarians. I'm an educator by profession and not a trained minister, so bear with me. Please, friends, let us now greet each other by turning to someone near you. Please say your name and welcome each other to the chapel. So friends, welcome everyone. Welcome. I think we might begin with a story for people of all ages. And this is one of my absolute favourites. It's called Princess Smarty Pants. Princess Smarty Pants did not want to get married. She enjoyed being a Ms. Because she was very pretty and rich, all the princes wanted her to be their missus. Princess Smarty Pants wanted to live in her castle with her pets and do exactly as she pleased. "It's high time you smartened yourself up," said her mother, the Queen. "Stop messing around with those animals and find yourself a husband." Suitors were always turning up at the castle, making a nuisance of themselves. "Right," declared Princess Smarty Pants. "Whoever can accomplish the tasks that I set will, as they say, win my hand." She asked Prince Compost to stop the slugs eating her garden. She asked Prince Rushforth to feed her pets. She challenged Prince Pelvis to a roller disco marathon. She invited Prince Boneshaker for a cross-country ride on her motorbike. She called on Prince Vertigo to rescue her from the tower. She sent Prince Bashthumb to chop some firewood in the royal forest. She suggested to Prince Fetlock that he might like to put her pony through its paces. She told Prince Grovel to take her mother, the Queen, shopping. She commanded Prince Swimbladder to retrieve her magic ring from the goldfish pond. None of the princes could accomplish the task he was set. They all left in disgrace. "That's that then," said Smarty Pants, thinking she was safe. Then Prince Swashbuckle turned up. He stopped the slugs eating her garden, he fed her pets, he roller discoed till dawn, he rode for miles on her motorbike, he rescued her from the tower, he found some firewood to chop in the forest, he even tamed her horrid pony. He took her mother, the Queen, shopping and retrieved her magic ring from the goldfish pond. Prince Swashbuckle didn't think Princess Smarty Pants was so smart, so she gave him a magic kiss. And he turned into a gigantic warty toad. Prince Swashbuckle left in a big hurry. When the other princes heard what had happened to Prince Swashbuckle, none of them wanted to marry Smarty Pants. And so she lived happily ever after. And now I think, are we going to say goodbye to the children? Let the spirit of love I invite you into a time of prayer and meditation. We come together in fellowship each Sunday with hearts full of joy and full of concern. If you are holding someone in your heart this morning, I invite you to say their name aloud in the coming moments of stillness, so that we may also hold them in our prayers. Spirit of life and love, God of our hearts, we give thanks for those who bring us joy and pray for the safekeeping of those whom we hold in concern. For all those names, spoken and unspoken, may they be surrounded by the loving kindness we offer them today. Blessed be. Amen. Now we're going to sing again. It's We'll Build a Land, which I think is on your order of service. seated. And now I'm going to invite Roger Mason to come up and read to us. And I need to confess that Roger is my dad. So thanks, Dad, for doing this for me.
Living with a Courageous Heart by Christina Spode. Anyone can slay a dragon, she told me, but try waking up every morning and loving the world all over again. That's what takes a real hero. These words are from Brian Andreas, one of my very favorite authors. His words ring in my mind. Anyone can slay a dragon, she told me. Maybe dragon means fear or challenge or stressor. I'd like to believe that everyone can overcome the obstacles that happen on their journey if they have the support they need. But the part I really love in this quote is the image of waking up every morning and loving the world all over again. How often do we wake up wishing for another 10 minutes of sleep, anxious about the test or report or call or whatever hard thing that we have to deal with that day, wondering how our money can make it through the next payday, worried about friends and loved ones who are ill. When we think about the words courage and hero, we may not think of ourselves. We are the heroes of our own stories, though, and we may even have heroic moments in the stories of others. Seeing ourselves as heroes is a choice. Being courageous is also a choice. It is being afraid, but doing or not doing something anyway. Fear is a required part of courage. Courage has many faces, but all of them share a truth. Courage reveals our authentic self. Courage comes from somewhere deep within, calling us to be our best selves. Although we know that there may be painful consequences, courage calls us to do what we feel is the right thing, even if we are afraid of messing up, of saying the wrong thing, of the consequences of being out of our comfort zones. Courage is asking for help when you need it. Courage is looking again for hope where you don't see any. Courage is singing, even off key, but with your full voice at church. Courage is going in for that medical test or procedure. Courage is welcoming the stranger. Courage is saying, I'm sorry, I messed up. Can you forgive me? Courage is being human instead of trying to be perfect. Courage is admitting, this is really hard and I don't know what to do. Courage is being willing to try new things and make mistakes. Courage is trusting ourselves. Courage is waking every morning and choosing to bless the world. Living with a courageous heart is an aspiration, an intention, a way to be with ourselves and the world. It is something we will fall short of from time to time or often because we are human, but sometimes our minds or bodies, our hearts or spirits will hurt, and that's okay. There will be times that we will miss the mark. There will be those times when we aren't everything we know we can be. We won't have the energy or feel we don't have the courage to spare. These will be the times when we allow others to be heroes, to live that part of our story with courageous hearts, and so extend us grace. In that way, by being willing to be seen as our most vulnerable selves, we become courageous and learn to love the world over again.
Thanks, Dad. So we're now going to join together in prayer and meditation. That will be followed by a period of silence, and then we'll have some music for reflection. Thank you, Ivan, during which you're welcome to come forward and light a candle if you'd like. So let's settle ourselves into the state of body and mind to pray together now. Eternal Spirit, Earth Maker, Pain Bearer, Life Giver, Source of all that is and that shall be, Father and Mother of us all, loving God, in whom is heaven. The hallowing of your name echo through the universe. The way of your justice be followed by the peoples of the world. Your heavenly will be done by all created beings. Your commonwealth of peace and freedom sustain our hope and come on earth. With the bread we need for today, feed us. In the hurts we absorb from one another, forgive us. In times of temptation and test, strengthen us. From trials too great to endure, spare us. From the grip of all that is evil, free us. For you reign in the glory of the power that is love, now and forever. Amen. We've all heard the unattributed saying, give someone a fish and they'll eat for a day, teach someone to fish and they'll eat for a lifetime. This pithy little sentence encapsulates for us all the value of learning in our existence and its inextricable link with our growth and prosperity as we pass through life. We've all been learners at some point in our pasts. I bet if you close your eyes for a moment and think quietly, you can remember something life-changing that was passed on to you once by a teacher, a family member, or a friend. Let's try it quickly now. Well done. We've now created a rich vein of material to share and discuss together over coffee after the service. But what is learning, and how can we be sure we remain good at it? Albert Einstein said, when we stop learning, we start dying. It's a stark warning, but I think anyone who has wrestled with the operation of a new mobile phone will raise a wry smile and know what Einstein was talking about. What do we know about learning? Well, we know we learn best when we're excited about and interested in the subject matter, and we also learn best when we can bounce ideas off others to test our theses and see whether others hold similar views. We also know we learn best when we get good quality feedback on our progress, which we can hear and synthesize in order to set ourselves goals to improve. The old memories of a teacher's red pen on our written work may or may not be a good example of this, but a helpful appraisal with a sympathetic but challenging boss or a quiet word from a trusted friend when we ask what they thought about something we did are perhaps better examples. Peter Honey and Alan Mumford, based upon the work of Kolb, identified 4 distinct learning styles or preferences: activists, theorists, pragmatists, and reflectors. These are the different learning approaches that individuals naturally prefer, and they recommend that in order to maximize one's personal learning, each learner ought to understand their learning style and seek out opportunities to learn using that style. So without turning this little talk into a seminar on educational theory, let's take a closer look at those 4 styles. Activists are people who learn by doing. Activists need to get their hands dirty, to dive in with both feet first. They have an open-minded approach to learning, involving themselves fully and without bias in new experiences. Theorists like to understand the theory behind the actions. They need models, concepts, and facts in order to engage in the learning process. They prefer to analyze and synthesize, drawing new information into a systematic and logical theory. Pragmatists need to be able to see how to put the learning into practice in the real world. Abstract concepts and games are of limited use unless they can see a way to put the ideas into action in their lives. They're the experimenters, trying out new ideas, theories, and techniques to see if they work. And finally, reflectors, who learn by observing and thinking about what happened. They may avoid leaping in and prefer to watch from the sidelines. They prefer to stand back and view experiences from a number of different perspectives, collecting data and taking the time to work toward an appropriate conclusion. A good way to illustrate the different styles is to imagine how we learn that fire is hot. For activists, putting their fingers too near the fire teaches them not to do it again. For theorists, a message from a parent, "Don't touch that, it's hot and will burn," might prevent them from trying. For pragmatists, Understanding that fire heats the room prompts their intuition to understand that therefore the fire might be hot. And for reflectors, watching the activists burn their fingers will dissuade them from doing something similar. Of course, we all have a bit of all of these in us. As Honey and Mumford point out, the very best learners work to develop in all the styles, rather than relying solely on their preferred one. Take a minute now to identify your preferred learning style and why you've chosen it. What could you do to develop the other styles in your everyday work and life? I like this little quote from Confucius, which might help illustrate this for you. By 3 methods, we may learn wisdom. First, by reflection, which is the noblest. Second, by imitation, which is the easiest. And third, by experience, which is the bitterest. As Unitarians, we are well placed to ensure we keep learning and not dying. Our faith is not creedal and therefore relies on our own consciences to keep developing, updating, and working on our theological positions and spiritual paths. Have we not all at some point looked with a little envy at those faith groups who can be told what to believe without the need to question these rules or truths based on what our instinct tells us about their applicability to modern science or modern life or modern morality? Arguably, the beautiful core of our faith is the learning we do together, whether that's here in chapel on a Sunday morning, in small groups around kitchen tables, or whilst walking out together in the wonder of the natural world. How many times have you sat in this chapel listening to a sermon and thought, I don't agree with that. That's not my belief. That doesn't sit right with me. But as Unitarians, these differences don't mean we storm out and never come back. They lead us into new questions. Why don't I believe that? Why would they believe that if I don't? Have I really asked myself why I hold the position I do on that? And so actually, we come back more often to continue to wrestle with life's difficult questions and to hone our own belief systems about them. And arguably, a Unitarian's belief system morphs, changes, and evolves over the time as a result of these stimuli and our responses to them. In ministry training at Unitarian College, we asked ministry students quite early in their training journey to write a personal credo or belief statement. Just 100 words or so, starting with the statement, I believe. We then asked them to write another statement a year or so later into their training, after they've immersed themselves in the study of academic theology, the practice of leading worship, and the discipline of keeping a spiritual diary. How the statements change over time, not necessarily in their core thrust or values, but in the tidying of the peripheries, the honing of the detail, or the addition of elements not before included. It's a challenging and fun exercise. I urge you to try it, either on your own, quietly at home, or with other Unitarians in a small group. There is as much to learn from the statement of others and how they change as from our own. I once heard an anecdote about a Unitarian ministry student who, when asked by the tutor at the end of their training whether they felt they had anything else to learn, replied that, no, thanks. They thought they'd learned everything they needed at that point. If the anecdote is true, that's a worrying situation. Harry S. Truman once said, "It's what you learn after you know it all that counts." I'm sure we can all recognise this. In some ways, unlearning what we think we know about life is the hardest part of our human journey. Sometimes a major life experience, such as a bereavement, an illness, or a rite of passage, can prompt a change in our personal credos. Other times, simply the slow, inexorable passage of time and a growing maturity leads to these changes. Alvin Toffler said, "The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn." I have to confess, I still receive my bank statements in paper format, to the exasperation of my husband, who keeps all his banking records on the computer. He feels my files of paper statements clutter our lives. He's right, of course. One day I probably will move across to electronic statements, but that time has not arrived for me yet. As you know, I'm the Director of Unitarian College. The college was founded 3 years ago with the express intention of growing our faith from the inside. Our strategy is to provide learning and development opportunities for all Unitarians, young and old, to enable them to develop their faith, to keep learning and not start dying. We're currently working with student ministers, active ministers, adults, children and families through our various training programs, our courses and our learning experiences. Much has been achieved already, including the valediction of 6 new Unitarian ministers for the denomination. And we have very many exciting plans and ambitions for the future. We're extremely grateful to the generous support we've received from so many Unitarian communities for the work we are doing. If you would like to hear more about the work of the college or how you can get involved, please take a look at our website or grab me for a quick chat over coffee. In my view, Unitarianism is well placed to respond to the needs of people who are seeking more than just the day-to-day bombardment of media and messages about what can feel a pretty fractured world at the moment. And Unitarian College wants to enrich and improve the Unitarian experience for all of us through the provision of learning and self-growth, so that we can all lead our denomination to greater strength and purpose in the future. I finish with a quote from Wendell Berry, which I love. Berry says, "It may be that when we no longer know what to do, we have come to our real work, and that when we no longer know which way to go, we have come to our real journey. The mind that is not baffled is not employed. The impeded stream is the one that sings." Amen. And now we're going to sing together for the final time. It's number 226 in your green hymn book. It's the Song of Peace, and I'd ask you to hold the people of Ukraine and the people of the Russian Federation in your hearts as we sing this together. Dimming the flame, let's memory rest. Dimming the flame, let's love grow again. Dimming the flame sets life free to live. Dimming the flame, let's all go in peace.
Thank you, Ivan. That was wonderful. Thank you, Helen. That was a lovely service. And thank you to John for the great music from the organ. That was wonderful as well. Please join us for tea and coffee and a chat in the aisle. Lots to talk about after that wonderful service. Thanks, Helen.